The pendulum will always hold a special place in my heart because it was my first form of divination. Actually, I wasn't even convinced it was truly a form of divination. Rather, I thought it to be a tool that operated on subconscious body movements. What do I believe now? Well, we'll come back to that. Hey everybody, it's me, Eric Arcadian, and this is my show where I talk about the things that interest me. Spirituality, music, magic, witchcraft, and the occult. Today's topic is pendulum divination. I can still remember my first pendulum. I used to carry it in a tiny black drawstring bag, gently nestled in my right pants pocket, every day. It was an amethyst point. It had a silver chain that was decorated with tiny chakra crystals. Ultimately, it ended at another small amethyst handle. I used to ask that thing everything, and it was pretty damn easy. The first thing you'll need to do, obviously, is acquire a pendulum. You won't be hurting for choices. There's hundreds available online, and they're frequently found at metaphysical stores or any other shop that happens to sell spiritual books, tarot cards, crystals, or incense. Perhaps the most common choice is a crystal pendulum, but you'll often find them made of metal as well. Just look for something that calls to you. When you see one you like, that's the one. Most of them do not require a significant investment and can be purchased for around $20. Regardless of what material you choose, the underlying concept is the same. A weight is suspended from a string. And in a pinch, you could even make your own. Just try looping a necklace chain through a ring, the heavier the better, and boom, you just made a pendulum. If you spend some time in the craft, you'll probably end up acquiring more than one. Pendulums are affordable, they're pretty, and they make easy gifts. I can't tell you exactly how many are in our house at the moment, but it's probably somewhere between 4 and 10. Yes and no are the most basic responses you can get from any form of divination. With a dice roll, you could assign even number values to yes and odd number values to no. With a card pull, you could determine this by cards being upright or cards being reversed. But with pendulums, your answer will be based on which way it's swinging. When I was first learning pendulum divination, it was recommended that I treat it like an individual with its own feelings and personality. I don't really vibe with that, but there's a little science behind the concept. Different weights and materials will cause pendulums to react slightly differently to your involuntary body movements. For that reason, your response patterns can vary from one pendulum to the next. So it's a good idea to ask what yes and no answers will look like. First, let's talk about basic posture. You'll hold the non-weighted end of your pendulum chain between the thumb and first finger on your dominant hand, suspending the weight about 1 to 2 inches above your non-dominant hand. Your non-dominant hand should have the palm open and facing upwards. I usually find that it helps to keep the elbows out to the side rather than in or close to the body. Finally, both hands should be about chest height rather than head height. Although sometimes tempting, you don't need the pendulum right in front of your face. You can do this while standing or sitting, and we'll call this pendulum posture. Now, let's learn some basic responses. Assume the pendulum posture as we just described. State out loud, please show me yes. Without forcing motion or tensing your muscles, wait for your pendulum to move. Make note of the motion or swinging pattern. State out loud, please show me no. Without forcing motion or tensing your muscles, wait for your pendulum to move. Make a note of the motion or swinging pattern. Many people will find the two main patterns here are clockwise versus counterclockwise spin. For me personally, clockwise is usually a yes, and counterclockwise is a no. Others may find that swinging front to back means something and swinging left to right means something else. Your mileage may vary, and it's a very individualized thing. That's why we practice. You do need to be in a relaxed posture. Do not tense your muscles. Do not try to make the pendulum move. Rest assured, if you want the pendulum to move, it's very easy to do so and skew your results. In fact, don't even try to keep it still either. Just let it happen. Optionally, you may wish to ask what a maybe or ask again type of answer looks like. Mine usually looks like a scattered zigzag. By the way, if you're enjoying this type of content, you can find more over on my YouTube channel or support my work on Patreon. Links will be in the show description. Now that you've seen what a yes and no answer looks like from your pendulum, it's time to build some confidence by divining things you already know the answer to. These questions should be very black and white, based on clear-cut facts. You can ask any series of known questions, but here's some to get you started. Is my shirt red? Am I currently sitting down? Is my name blank? Is today Tuesday? Are the walls in this room white? It may feel silly, but this is the first step to strengthening an intuitive link between your higher self and your physical body. Don't worry if you get a wrong answer every now and then, but if you're regularly getting bad data, try asking what yes and no look like again. You should repeat this exercise until you feel confident. This might take a day or it may take a week, but don't take it so seriously that you prevent yourself from moving forward. Try to have fun with this, otherwise you might get bored and lose interest. After you get a handle on factual questions, you can move on to subjective ones that are based on feelings. Am I hungry right now? Am I? Do I want that slice of pizza that's been sitting in the fridge? Or am I just bored? Again, you can ask anything, but here's some ideas. Did I have a good day today? Do I currently feel upset for any reason? Do I like pie? Do I like blueberry pie? Did I sleep well last night? Am I safe? Could a tiger win a fight against a lion? You can repeat this exercise until you feel comfortable with it. Again, it might be a day or it might be a week, but don't stop moving forward. By now, you should be pretty successful with factual and subjective questions, so it's finally time to actually do some real divination. And what I mean by this is getting an answer to a question that you don't yet know and you don't immediately feel. Try a really simple question like, am I going to be late for work today? Understand that the answer doesn't lock you into any type of fate. Let's look at why. So let's say that your pendulum says, yes, you will be late for work. Okay, that means that at my current flow, I'm going to be late. This gives me the opportunity to speed up or skip parts of my routine so that I can get there on time. And maybe my pendulum says, no, you will not be late for work. Great. That means I'm going at a good pace. But if I decide to be lazy at this point and take a nap, no answer from any pendulum in the world is going to make me on time. Think of your pendulum like a friend giving you advice. It is meant for helpful guidance. It is not meant to hold you back. Also, as a disclaimer, as if I really need to say this, an answer from your pendulum is not a valid excuse for doing stupid stuff. If you're looking to expand the range of answers your pendulum can provide, you can use a pendulum board. These usually have common responses, letters, and numbers laid out in a circle or half-circle pattern, and they're pretty easy to make if you don't want to buy one. The basic concept here is that you monitor the path of your pendulum's swing. If it swings over a letter, you mark it down, return your pendulum to a neutral position, and continue until a word is formed. With a few exceptions, I'm not usually a fan of pendulum boards. They always feel a little gimmicky to me, kind of like a Ouija board. I guess it's just like something I'd expect to see in an episode of Charmed or Supernatural. I'm actually pretty sure that there was an episode of Supernatural where someone held a pendulum over a map swung it around for a few seconds before it was magnetically pulled to a particular location, and then, of course, the entire map caught on fire. Now, that's real magic, if you ask me. One of my favorite ways to use a pendulum is to supplement other forms of divination. If you're stuck in a tarot spread or some other divinatory result seems unclear, try using your pendulum to narrow down the possibilities. You can even use it to confirm an intuitive result. I'll give you an example. Let's say I come across a dreaded court card in a tarot spread. Now, these cards are notoriously difficult to read because they can represent so many different things. Just as a side note, by the way, my good friend Christiana Gaudet teaches an amazing class on the court cards, and I will post a link to her website in the show notes. Anyway, back to our example. Let's say in particular the Page of Wands has popped up, and unfortunately it's stumped me, and I can't seem to make any further progress in the reading. I could pull out my pendulum and ask a few questions, starting from very general. Affirmative answers mean you can continue that line and get more specific. Some possible flows for this card might look like, does this card represent a specific person in the querent's life? Yes. Is it a young person? Yes. Is it the querent's son or daughter? Does the card represent a message the querent will receive? Yes. Will the message be received soon? Yes. Will the message be received this week? Does the card represent the querent's ability to communicate? Does the card represent the querent's feelings of passion? But perhaps I turned over the Page of Wands and intuitively came to the conclusion that it represented the querent's youngest son. And then, unfortunately, logic and doubt clouded my mind as I remembered that court cards simply stump the hell out of me and can mean all sorts of different things. Suddenly, I've lost my confidence and the entire flow of the reading. Not to worry, I've got my pendulum handy. I could simply take it out and say, does this card indeed represent the querent's youngest son? If I get an affirmative answer, I can regain a bit of confidence and continue the reading. This works for all sorts of things, honestly. Runes, automatic writing, whatever form of divination you choose to employ regularly. I've even used pendulums in ancestor workings, simply asking reassuring questions like, do you have a message for me right now? Or concluding questions like, is that the end of the message? Finally, we can return to one of the opening questions. What do I believe now? Are pendulums a form of true intuition, or are they a tool that simply relies on involuntary body movements? The answer is yes, to both. Is it all in my head? Yes. Am I moving the pendulum? Yes. Yes, of course I am. Is this real divination? Yes. I think involuntary body movements are ultimately responsible for how the pendulum moves. But those movements can also be influenced by subconscious cues received from the higher self, or spirit, or deity, or source, or whatever you'd like to call it. But you know what? You should come up with your own conclusions, so grab a pendulum and start playing around. Oh, and speaking of conclusions, once you start to play around with pendulum divination, I'm sure you'll find all sorts of ways that it can be applied, either as a standalone tool or to supplement other areas of divination and magic. I'd love to hear what you come up with. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. If you liked this episode, check out the description for links to more of my work, including my YouTube channel, blog, and Patreon. I'm Eric Arcadian, and until next time, stay tuned for more.